Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm here with Cave Engine 1.2. It's finally here, and this is the complete video where I walk through the release notes and I talk about every single feature for you to understand what's new in this version. But before we start, just a quick note here. If you're waiting for Cave Engine to put your hands in Cave, this is the perfect moment because since this is a huge release, it improves a lot of things, not only quality of life, but also the rendering is completely new in Cave 1.2, and there's many other features such as terrain system, animation systems, Steam integrations, and much more. So because of this, and also the documentation, I'll talk about that in a moment. So because of this, Cave Engine is also running a launch discount. So the link will be in the description for you to not only read the release notes, but also to get Cave. So if you are waiting for the right moment to get the engine, this is the right moment. So I'll leave the links in the description. So with that said, let's go ahead and understand the release notes. So there's a lot of new things. Again, the link will be here for you to read if you want, but I will go ahead and walk through directly with Cave. I'm here with the Cave demo project. So everyone that get access to the engine do have access to the demo project, which is very good. You can see here that you have like a README in must folders here, and this README really explains everything about the project. This is intended for you to explore, to learn, to understand how everything works and all that. So it's actually very good. And then there is a README in Portuguese as well, if you speak Portuguese. So it's very good. Anyways, so let's go ahead and understand everything that is new. And the first thing that you see here, oh, before that, if you're working in Cave 1.1, if you have a project and you want to upgrade to 1.2, be aware that it is possible. You can open a previous project. So let me actually start here with a new instance of the engine. One second. This is the project manager. It do have some improvements, very interesting improvements. It asynchronously loads all the thumbnails now to make sure that the project manager launches as fast as possible. It shows the older projects here, as you can see, as long with the version. This is not new, but this tab here is new, and it also shows the invalid projects, which is like very old projects. For example, this is a version for 1.0, an MMO game that I've made a while ago using Cave. Anyways, so you will be able to import older projects, but please notice that there's so many things new in the engine, such as the rendering, and because of that, it will require you to do some reconfiguration because the rendered changed, so how things looks are much more realistic now. So you have to tweak some settings here and there, but it is expected to be very smooth for you. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and advance. The new thing here, it's not actually, the first new thing here is not actually directly related to Cave, but it is related how you will learn the engine, because I've just released here the first version of the Cave Engine Bible. What is the Cave Engine Bible? It's the official game engine documentation as a book for you to download and now in your own computer, so you can study this. You can maybe print this if you want. You can read this offline on your phone and whatever, and understand exactly how the engine works. So this is a great documentation. This first version is literally on the edge here for the 100 pages, and you can see here that it explains every part of the engine. And of course, I will improve this more and more. It explains how to extract, how to run, what you need to know, the troubleshootings, how to create a project. So it's literally complete. The editor basics here, so you will understand all the basics for the editor and also for every single tab. So we start with the viewport. You will understand all the shortcuts here. There's a list for you to get going. Then you understand the properties tab. It's huge with a lot of examples. So in the end of this book, you know every tab of the engine, every part, every architecture, and even some advanced stuff, because this is like some very easy stuff. This is how like the entity, the properties, and everything works for you to understand this. But if I scroll down here, if I keep going, oh, again, it shows every component as well, like particle component, camera component, how everything is used and how everything is meant to be used. So this is very good for you to understand. The UI element component have a lot of explanation because it's very important for you to understand how they work. But here, let me scroll down here a little bit more. You will see some internal features of the engine, such as how the cave player works, how the main loop of the engine looks like, and a lot of explanation for it. So this is very internal. It's something that you probably don't see in other engines, but it's good for you to understand how this works in the engine that you're using to make your game, because you can take advantage of this and make the best use of it. So it's really complete, this documentation. And again, when it comes to scripting, we also have the Python API. This is embedded into the engine, so you can click here in help and open the Python API. It works offline as well, and you can understand every single function, every single method. If you want to understand more about the scene here, you can click and expand. The same goes for the entities, and there's an explanation here on how everything works, every property, every function. So this is how we can get started with the engine. So I'm making it easier and easier for you to understand every corner of the engine, which is very good. And last but not least, if you're writing code here in the engine, we do have stub files. This is a stub file for the engine, which is like a way for VS Code, for example, I'm using VS Code, to understand and support, for example, highlighting. So if I try to type something here, so I have a transform class, you can see that it does have like autocomplete. And if I click here and expand it, will show everything. So this is a good thing for you also to write code. This is sample code, by the way, so it's very good. So let's go ahead and keep moving here, keep going forward. Another huge feature here is the terrain system. I should probably say first about the new rendering, but I'll let you guys see what is going on, and then I'll talk about it when we reach. But the terrain system can be seen here in the sample projects, in the demos here. The vehicle demo do use the terrain system now. So there's a very simple terrain. I'm a terrible driver here, so I apologize. So you can see that it is using the terrain system. And I'll probably roll over. Here we go. Anyways, so you can see that it does have the terrain, but also the third person demo do have another terrain here in it. And let me show you this, because it does have another feature that we'll talk about in a moment, which is the inverse kinematics for the feet of the player to always align with the ground, which is a very useful feature. I don't know if it's obvious, but it will be obvious for you very soon. You can see the knee of the player is bended to align with the ground, with the terrain. And it's a huge terrain. I will talk about that in a moment. Let me just try to jump here. Oops. Anyways, so this is the terrain, and it's available here in the demo project for you. Let me actually go ahead and try to scoop this a little bit. So this is in the editor. I will click here in the terrain. You can see it is like a regular object here in this scene graph. And if I go here to the right, I do have a terrain component, and I can have a lot of settings here. At the moment, this terrain, let me see if the scale is 1.0. Yeah, it's 1.0. So this terrain is 1.4 times 1.4 kilometers. You can make bigger terrain. You can adjust the grid size. You can make like 100 cells here in the grid size, and it to be larger. Let me actually increase. For example, now it's 2 by 2 kilometers. You can see that we have a larger terrain now. Anyways, let me go back to 64 because this is the way I wanted it. You can adjust the load rate and all that. The terrain will have automatic optimization. So if I zoom out, you can see that the terrain is changing load levels as I get further away. You can see, very nice, and it works as you expect. And now, like the best part, let's try to scoop this terrain a little bit. Let me select it again. And if I click here in the terrain mode and click edit terrain, I'll be able to sculpt, but there's another way to do this as well. With the terrain selected here, I can go to the top here of the 3D view and change manipulation view, manipulation tool to terrain tool. This is actually a new feature in Cave. In the viewport is now divided into different tools. For example, the manipulation tool that allows you to select objects, and I'll talk about that in a moment because there's a lot of new stuff as well regarding this, and also the terrain mode. So I can click here and change it for the terrain tool. Let me disable the icons. Here we go. And I can, at the right side here, change the modes here. For example, I have this the sculpt mode. Very easy. As you can see, I can use a scroll of the mouse to increase or decrease the size of my brush and change the terrain shape as I want. I can hold also Control to subtract instead of add. And here I can adjust the fall off of the brush. You can see that now it will be a bit more smooth. I can increase this again. I can change the brush strength, and there's a lot of other stuff. I can erase the terrain, so it resets the scale to half to 50%. I can smooth the terrain, so you can see it's a bit rough. So if I change the brush strength, you can see, here we go, now we have a smooth terrain. Nice. I can apply erosion to this terrain, which is kind of interesting. It's work in progress, but it does a job. I can add a noise to the terrain. Let me decrease the strength here maybe. I need to randomly increase stuff. And let me smooth this out a little bit now. Here you go. Oh, of course I can flatten the terrain. This is very useful. For example, let's say you want this to be a playable area. You can simply do this. And now you're ready. You know, you can literally start placing stuff here. So literally like basic terrain features that you expect from a terrain editor, of course. There's nothing crazy here, but it's here for you. And last but not least, we have texture paint. I'm not going to go into details about the texture paint yet, but you can paint stuff, paint a texture that is overlaid in the terrain. So basically, I'll go into a little bit of details. You can create a new texture here. We can see that it creates a default texture for you. This is new in Cave. Let me actually make this 1K texture. Good. So let me go back to the terrain editing here. In the texture paint, I will drag and drop this texture here, and I can set the color, for example, to black. And it will use the UV map of the terrain to paint the texture you can see here. Of course, there's nothing going on in the terrain. This is why I said that I'm not going to go into too many details right now about what is this feature about, because of course you need to create a material and use this texture, for example, as a stencil mask to be able to define, for example, multiple colors for the terrain. This material here does not have this terrain here does not have a custom material, so this is why we're not seeing anything. But you can see here that it is painting, and then I can, let's say, add a path here in the middle, and you can see that it is here in the texture, and then I can use this as a stencil. I think you got the idea, right? So this is the terrain mode here. The new terrain system. You can see in the image there's an advanced terrain using Quixel Mega Scans actually for some rocks, and then some textures here to paint different color variations, custom shaders and all that. So all this is supported in the terrain system, because you can actually, again, let me stop editing this. Let me go back to the manipulation tool. You can change the material for this. So it's a test material. I can change to mud. So now it looks absolutely terrible because this material is not made for this this terrain, but you know, you get the idea. So let's move on. Viewport tools, I've already told you about that. That is new. Now let's go ahead and explore a little bit about the inverse kinematics. What is inverse kinematics? You may ask. There's an example about this. So let's go to the demos here. IK demo, let me click here to select. So this is a character. You can see the foot of the character is going inside the ground and all that. And I do have an empty here, and I would like to place the hand of the character at this position. If I click, hit F5 to play the game, you can see that the foot, let me hit F3 to enable controls back. You can see the game is running. You can see that the foot now is aligned. I can do crazy stuff here as well. You can see the foot aligns with the ground, very good. And of course, this is just an example, so I can completely destroy things. Oh no, I managed to not make it crazy here. But anyways, you can see this working in action, and this is an even better example because I can grab this hand of the character. You can see that the animation is running, and I can move it around and it will work. Right? So this is good for you to make the character pick an object or anything like that. And this is all done through Python. It's very simple code to make this happen. All thanks to the new IK demo for the engine. So you can see here in the Python code that all I had to do here is to get the animator, which is the component that runs animations in Cave. So I need to add a pos evaluation callback. This is a callback. It's a method that gets called for you automatically after the animation gets calculated for this specific character. And with this callback, which is here, I can control different parts of the rig and make custom stuff, make the player look at the camera direction, for example. If you explore the third-person demo here, you will see that the character will aim, and it will aim up and down, and the spine will actually rotate accordingly, and this is all due to this pause evaluation callback. It's not new in Cave. It was there in 1.1 and 1.0, I guess, but what is new here is that now I have this bone.inverse kinematics, and it is literally this simple to add inverse kinematics. So you put a target position, the number of parent bones that you want to deform, and that it will calculate that for you. There's also another alternative to this, which is the bone two-part IK. I'm actually using this in the hand here. Let me actually use this in the feet. Then I only need the pose. The two-part IK is similar to the inverse kinematics, except that it is specialized in two bones, such as, for example, if you want to use this for the feet or for the hand, you usually have two parent bones, of course, for the leg and for the arm. So this is a more specialized inverse kinematics. It's cheaper to run, so it's much faster. Of course, this is also faster, but this is much faster because it doesn't iterate, and it also preserves the rotation, so which is important. For example, let me actually save this and play, and you will see that the knee here will always face the correct direction. You can see here it is always facing the correct direction because, again, this is a specialized version of the IK. So let me actually restart the game and change back to the old one for you to see the difference. So they are both IK, but look at the knee. The knee is now facing the wrong direction because the inverse kinematics, of course, it is meant to work with like 10 bones to 100 bones if you want. So it will not going to preserve the rotation of the bones. So you can see that the knee is going to a different direction. So this is the difference, and now you have both options. So if you want to make like a tail of a horse, a dog or something like that, you can use the regular inverse kinematics because it's expected that you have more than two bones. But if you want to animate like the feet or the arm of the character, you can use the two-part IK and it will work fine as well. So let's move on. Multi-select entities in the 3D view. This is very requested. So if I have, let's add a mesh here, and let's duplicate this. I'll go ahead and duplicate this. Previously in Cave, it was not possible, believe it or not, to hold Shift and select more than one entity. Now, it is possible. Very nice, right? So you can multi-select the entity, you can do multiple operations between these entities, and it is all supported, and it will work just fine. The other thing that is new is the undo system. Yes, this is another new stuff here that Cave have. If I don't like what I did, I can press Ctrl Z and it will undo. So it had undone the rotation and the transformation here. I can undo the new entity that I just created, and I can keep doing this until it is over. Yeah, I think it reached the limits of the undo. But anyways, now we understand how everything works, and it's good to have the undo here and be able to undo your mistakes. And so this is a new thing in Cave that many people requested for a lot of time. Keep in mind the undo will not going to work if you, for example, modify a value here in the proper step. It will not going to do anything for you in this case. It will only do something if you undo here, if you move something here using the gizmos. Okay, so it is a viewport 3D view only undo, but again, it will still help a lot of the level designs, and I think that many people will be very happy with this new feature. Moving on, we have again the rendering improvements. So this is huge, and I don't really have an easy way to show you the rendering other than, well, look at the rendering, look at everything that I'm showcasing you in this video. But basically, until version 1.1, Cave had a lot of small issues in the calculations of the physically based rendering and the rendering in general, and this was all contributing to not so good visuals. Of course, you are an artist, so you can adjust it, but my goal here with the engine is to make sure that you get the math right, you get the rendering right, and you get all the calculations perfectly aligned with how they are supposed to be, for you as an artist to not have to worry about that. So this is why we improved a lot about the rendering. We have some sample images here. So this is a Quixel mega scan of a tree. This is like 60,000 meshes. Like, it's a crazy high poly model. You can see it looks good. There's a terrain here with displacement, which is new also in Cave. So you can see that the sand looks 3D, but it's actually just a quad. Thanks to the displacement that uses parallax mapping, by the way. This is new in Cave. And also here you can see the difference between Cave 1.0. You can see it is completely crazy. This is exactly the same model, the same textures, the same settings for the material. So this is Cave 1.1 versus 1.2, and this is Unreal Engine 5.5 as a reference. So before I address Unreal Engine and why Unreal Engine is here, let me just compare Cave 1.1 with version 2. You can see that the image looks completely washed out. The light calculation is wrong. You can see there's no specular in the skin of this character, and you can also see there's an artifact here. The image is a bit low resolution, I apologize for that, but you can see there's an artifact here because Cave 1.1 did not support it multi-material animated meshes, and 1.2 does support. So the problem here is that the eyes of the character was using a different material, so this was messing up the animation, and you can see in version 1.2 it's here, so this is fixed. And all the lighting calculations are much more realistic here. There's no too white or too dark here anymore. You can see that you can understand every color and every part of it. And why Unreal Engine 5 is here? I'm not, am I trying to compete with Unreal? No, but I'm using Unreal Engine 5 here as a reference because Unreal Engine 5 uses the same model that Cave uses, which is physically based rendering, PBR. And this is a math concept. It's not an Unreal concept. It's a lot of math calculations and all that, and algorithms. There's a lot of articles about that, so this is a widely known and spread in the game industry and also in the movie industry. So basically the idea is, if you have two different engines and they implement the same math, well, the result, because math is math and math doesn't change like that, should be expected to be the same, of course. So I'm comparing here Cave 1.2 with Unreal. Of course, the lightning here, the background is different. I'm not using the same skybox, the same sun brightness and color, but you can see that the character here, I try to replicate the shadow angle and all that. You can see that the material here is pretty much the same here, because of course this is the same 3D model, the same textures, and the same material configuration. And if the math is the same and the environment, the numbers are the same, the result should be the same. So you can see here the comparison, and they are very close to each other. So this is great for Cave, because it means that you as an artist, you can use the engine without worrying, hey, we will look different. No, it's exactly the same thing. So if you're having the same models, you should get the same result, because again, math is the same, of course. Let's move on. So part of why, the rendering is better. Let me actually skip the dynamic range for a second just to finish summarizing this. I've improved the PBR rendering a lot, fixed a lot of math calculation mistakes. This is now parallax displacement mapping is active here in the engine, as you could see here in the sand that looks 3D. So this is great. We have a new material shader system, so the material is much more organized, and you can create custom materials. It is all in the Cave Engine Bible, so it is documented over there, so it's great. The normal maps in Cave were actually inverted, and this is very interesting because it's now fixed, so normal map will look much better now. Previously, you had to use DirectX normal maps, but Cave is a OpenGL engine, so it made no sense. It is because it was inverted. So I've now fixed this, so the correct normal maps will work just fine. I've improved shadow quality, had better PCF filtering, so the shadows will be better overall in Cave 1.2 as well. And now let's go back to the new high dynamic range rendering. So basically, previously Cave was actually limited. Let me try to find again the third person demo here. I think it will be easier for you to understand what's going on here. Where is the player? Where's here? Here we go. By the way, you can press F to focus the selected entity. I don't think many people knows that. Anyways, previously in Cave, let me actually go to the vehicle demo, because I think we do have some materials and all that. So previously in Cave, there was no high dynamic range, and this means that the image that gets rendered to the screen will actually be clamped into 0 and 1 range. This is a little bit technical, but the problem with that is that since the math calculation is very realistic because it's PBR, the light intensities you expect them to be very realistic as well. And the problem with not having HDR with this is you're not going to be able to have a very bright light like the sun, for example, because it will overexpose everything, and everything will go above this 1.0 threshold when rendering, so everything will be bright, like all white, and this is not what you want. So that would force you to get the sun intensity and really slow down, and in the end the result will be very bad and not realistic at all. So this is not what you want. Now with HDR, there's no limit for the light color, so we can have very bright sky. You can see here already that the sky is much brighter, because of course this reduced the sun here intensity, so the sky is much brighter, and the engine is adapting at that. That's thanks to HDR, and also exposure settings and eye adaptation, which is very good. So now I can really increase the sun, so it's now at 47. I can increase more, 141, 246. You can see that I'm still able to see the ground. And of course now the shade areas are much darker, but of course I can, for example, increase the ambient intensity, and now I have the shaded areas back. Or I can go ahead and enter here, and the eye adaptation will try its best to show me what is going on. And of course the rest of the image will be completely white. As you can see here in the background, it's very bright right now because I'm focusing on this. So if I look at the background, this will become darker, but thanks to AI adaptation. So now you can have, man, the sun is 246. Try to do this in Cave 1.1. 400, let's try 1000. Yeah, you can see it will still render and show you everything that you need, which is perfect. Now the sky is not good. Anyways, so this is thanks to HDR and eye adaptation. Very good feature, very interesting new feature here. You can click here to select the scene, and in the camera settings you can change the exposure as well. And then another thing here that is new, I'm not sure if it's in the release notes actually, is actually that we do have tone mapping here. So this is AGX, a very good tone mapping. It's the same tone mapping used in Blender 3D, so it's very good. Actually, it's an adaptation, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember this anymore. I've implemented this like a month ago. But yes, you have AGX tone mapping, so the colors should look much better when bring down to a LDR, which is because you render stuff in HDR, but you need to make this go down to low dynamic ranges because some monitors or most monitors do not support HDR, so it will simply not work if you leave stuff in HDR. So you need to convert down to LDR, and this is why tone mapping exists. Anyways, this is new. Multi-material and animated meshes, I've already told you. Now we can have multiple materials in your characters and have them animated. This limitation is no longer a thing in Cave, which is very nice. Now I have like smaller stuff here, so I'll just go ahead and wrap it up here. We have improved project manager. Again, as I said, we have better thumbnails. They are like asynchronously, and the thumbnails will fit the entire screen. This is new. And also many other smaller improvements in the project manager. I've rewrote the profiler. Oh, this is good. So here on top, you can see that we do have the frame per second counter. And what if your game is low? You can click here and it will open the profiler tab. And you can see exactly what is taking your frame. You can see here this 3 view of the entire cave frame. So you understand this is already sorted by what takes most time. You can also get the bars view. You can pause the frame capture to see exactly. So hey, right now the eye adaptation is taking 3.8 ms. Now the swipe buffers, which is like basically the rest of the rendering, is taking a lot of resources. Also because I'm recording the video and OBS is fighting with Cave for performance. Anyways, the game is not on here, but if I was running a game, you would see physics and logic here contributing, and this will be much different than it is right now. You can see exactly what is going on with your shadow passes, how many draw calls you have. You can expand and understand how many vertices and triangles got drawn. So this is very good for you to optimize. You can have the entire frame zoom. So I'm here, believe it or not, I'm drawing 62,000 vertices and 104K triangles, which is a lot. I mean, not a lot, but it is a number. It is a number here for these characters. So you can see and optimize, of course, if this goes crazy. Same for physics. And this is actually huge, as you can see. I'm not going to show every detail of the profiler, but you have like the memory usage. So I have 32 gigs of RAM in my system. You can see that I'm barely using it, of course. I have 271 megabytes being used by Cave, and you can even see here on a one-by-one step of what is using a lot of megabytes here. So if your game is huge, you can profile here, and you can even go to the individual data and see, hey, what is in the asset browser. So this AK-47 normal map is 64 megabytes. So this is crazy, right? So I can click here to edit the asset, and I can see why it is 64. So this is a 4K texture, RGBA, and you can see in size and format here that it is not compressed probably. So you can see the size in memory and raw is 64 megabytes. And in this is 7 megabytes, okay? But it is not compressed, and it is like a 4K texture. So what I can do here is click here to compress the image. Now it is 16 megabytes. So I literally optimized the game right here in front of your eyes. So it's no longer a problem. It's 16. I can do the same thing with the albedo here. That is 64 megabytes. So you got the idea. This is very, very useful, man. You have no idea. You have save and load times. Maybe your game is taking a while to load and you don't like this. So you can see here exactly every individual asset, how many time it takes to load. So again, the normal map, the AK-47, or actually 74, normal map is taking 100 ms and the transparency is taking 125 ms. Of course, now that it is compressed, it will take less time, so which is good. So you also have save times, you can see here, so which is very good, right? You can even emulate low performance, because like maybe you have a super beefy rig that always run your game at 60 frames per second. What if you want to test on a lower end machine? You can click here to emulate a low performance. So you can see here, it is red, just to indicate you, hey, this frame is emulated, it's not the actual frame. But I can add cost to my frame. And now you can see that our game is running at 24 frames per second. Oh my god, this is very bad. No, this is actually emulated. The game engine is actually on purpose making your game run bad. Why? Because you can test your game at lower end machines without having a lower end machine to see if it works correctly, if you are not messing things up, and anyways. So this is very good to emulate. We also have a bunch of other optimizations. So the profiler tab is actually very useful to understand and optimize your game. Also, this is very good. Steam API integration. Do you want to put your game on Steam? Well, maybe you want to have achievements. Now you can use the Steam API. You can see you can initialize the API. You can get the username here and print or display them however you want. And you have a lot of APIs here to see, hey, is this game launched with Steam? You can do this. And if it's not, you can go ahead and kit the game. This will automatically make Steam launch the game. This is good for a DRM purpose. Maybe you put your game on Steam and you want people to pirate the game and play it without having Steam installed and the game in the Steam library. You can use this to avoid that. And this is actually how Steam works. Okay, so this is Steam APIs. And you have a lot of other stuff. We have achievements here to implement this in your game, and it's native. By the way, we cannot redistribute this Steamworks SDK with Cave. So you need to have a partner account with Steam. You need to have access to the SDK in order to use this. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, so it's very important. And by the way, I'm expanding this API as you want. This is Cave API, it's not Steam API. So if you're using Steam to make if you're using Cave to make a Steam game, make sure you let me know so I can help you the best way possible to make sure that you have all your features, all the features you want exposed here for you. Okay. Asset importer here, right? This is very good. When you drag and drop an asset like an FBX into Cave, he wrote everything, so it will really be best for you because it will allow you to do batch configurations, disable importing all the meshes, for example, or doing some filtering, so it's very good. I don't have an example to show you here, but it is much better. And now the entity template that gets created that describes the scene, you can see here in Cave 1.1, it's weird. It creates a bunch of empties that doesn't make any sense at all. In Cave 1.2, you can see it's much more organized. So when you import assets in Cave, it will be better. Expect that. Faster project loads. I've improved a lot, caching textures and a bunch of other stuff. Before it was in our benchmark here, it was taking 33 seconds to load a project, which is honestly fast. This is like if I remember correctly, this is like, yes, it's a 1.6 gig project, so it's a lot of stuff, and it was taking 33 seconds to load. Try to do this in Unreal Engine 5 or Unity and see if it loads faster or not. In my computer, an empty project in Unreal takes about 5 minutes, and I'm not joking. And now, even that it is fast, it is taking like 11 seconds, so it's 3 times faster in this case. Of course, this will vary according to your project. If you don't have any textures and all that, you're not going to see a bunch of difference because this is mainly for the textures. But anyways, it's here. We have UI element improvements. Now we have scissor mask. This is actually very good. If I'm creating a UI element here in Cave, so let's say that this is a menu for my game. So let me make this black, semi-transparent or something like that. Let me blur the background. So this is the menu. Let me actually go ahead and add a title to this. No, I'm not going to add the title. badass menu, something like that. And let me make the background black. And the width here, 100%. Here we go. So this is the menu of my game, right? If I want to scroll down, scroll up actually, I'm here just in the menu. Okay, so if I want this menu to have a lot of badass menu elements, and I want to scroll this up and down like this, imagine, for example, user imagination to think that I have like 10 different items of this. Like I have another one over here, another one over here, and all that. So I'm scrolling down this huge list, but the problem is that you can see that the menu is going out of bounds, as you can see here. It is literally going out of bounds, right? I want to hide this. How to do this? In Cave 1.1, it was not possible. Now you can click this UI element, which is the parent. And by the way, this is a feature about Cave, very good. If I move the parent, it will move the children. If I resize the parent, it will resize the children. You can see Cave works very well with menus, with interfaces. There's anchoring. This is crazy, and it is all documented in the Cave Engine Bible. Now you don't need to guess. You can go ahead to the Cave Engine Bible and download it and test it. It will be very good. Anyways, now we can click here in Scissor Mask and enable it. Now you can see, man, this is cut down. Okay, so I can move this element. Man, I wish I could. I'm dumb actually. Let me actually try to do something crazy here. This may or may not work, by the way. Make this 100%, just because I wanted to showcase something to you. So, okay, now I can move this up and down, and look at that. It will go out of bounds and be cropped by the scissor. Okay, so this is very nice if you're making a menu. So you can scroll the menu up and down and it will show this. Okay, this is the power of Cave. Very nice. Also, this is recursive as well. So if I have like this element here, and if I want to add like another empty here, another UI element, let me actually make this red because I'm weird. And I'll change the position here. It is cropping, as you can see as well. You can see that the root here is cropping this, but this element here is not cropping its child, unless I click in this and click Scissor Mask. And now you can see that the children of this, a lot of children elements is cropped, and it will work as you expect. It will be cropped just fine. Anyways, so this is, again, the power of Cave Engine. Let's go ahead and keep going. Better thumbnail generation. Now, previously, most of the times, the thumbnails that you get for your assets, they would be bad, actually, very bad. This is now no longer true. You have decent thumbnails most of the times, and I'm hoping that every time you have decent thumbnails, and you can see here the grass blades, drag and drop this glass blade here, you can see I can have a clear experience, can understand. Let me disable this UI here. Okay. So we have better thumbnails. Let me try to find other stuff here. I don't think I have many. Oh, okay, here the vehicle body, the wheel, all that. It will be much better now, the thumbnails. So you can see here in this example, a lot of good stuff. This is some Kenny asset packs that I've imported very easily with the new imported. So that's it. We do have Cave on Linux. This is not new. Cave, of course, we do have Linux versions for the 1.1, but now it's much better. It should work if you're using Wayland, because previously it was only working with X11 systems, and it will also do a better job improving like the external libraries. I do have a Cave editor launcher for Linux, so if you're running Cave on Linux, you will see a Cave editor launcher that you can run, and it will hopefully run the engine very well. And I'm continuing to improve the Cave on Linux integration. So in future version of Cave 1.2, I want to improve even more and make sure that everyone that uses Linux will be able to access Cave and use it flawlessly, okay? So this is very good. So I do have other improvements here that I'm not gonna talk, and a bunch of fixes. So this video, this entire video, is just to showcase Cave Engine 1.2. So as you probably notice, is huge. There's a lot of new stuff, and this engine is like, of course, I'm suspected to say this because I am the developer of the engine, but trust me, this engine is crazy. Like this version, very nice, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy it a lot. Again, the engine is running a discount, release discount, so make sure you check it out. My name is Guilherme, thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments what you think about this release, and I see you in the next video. Bye!